I would like to give you a brief introduction for myself as a moderator of this panel. I'm the partner of Brandographer. So Brandographer is an insight consultancy that is a feature of innovation and also humans' behavior. We help brands to grow in Asia through understanding their consumers' behavior pattern.
Thank you, Ruby. So my name is Emily. I'm from Hong Kong, working in Shanghai. So I have a startup platform called Shake to Win, 赏游, which I founded last year. The mission is to leveraging technology to preserve the culture. And apart from work, I'm also a columnist, writing about how to make young people fall in love with the museum and culture again.
My name is Adam. I'm the CEO of CREATEC digital agency. We help the brands to create brand awareness on social media and digital platform. And also we believe that culture can actually remove the barrier between the brands and the consumers. So that's why our project and our work is really focused on cultural communication.
My name is Adrian Lai. I guess my background is also in culture marketing, digital marketing, but at the moment I'm the founder of a startup called Yumi. That's Yumi. I guess Yumi is a new way for independent brands to very easily set up a WeChat mini program shopfront, and then it has built-in social commerce to drive sales.
My name is Zack. I mean, all these guys work for startups. I work for Budweiser. So if you don't know, my whole job is selling beer. But I actually work in analytics, so I've always worked in analytics. Before Budweiser was at WPP, but probably more than influence from work. I'm more influenced by podcast and YouTube.
The change of the consumption pattern is due to the user journey. The consumption journey has been changed in the digital world. So due to the journey has been changed, we need to also adapt to this trend to come up new user journey for the consumer.
In relation to lifestyle and fashion and culture is the younger generation of consumers are getting a lot more sophisticated. This applies not just to fashion, but also applies to music. The general lifestyle category is becoming more niche and more original.
So I think what that's going to mean for products is maybe not what we expect it to mean, right? So I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I was in a pool hall back in Shanghai, and like randomly, the best pool player in the world walked into the pool hall and walked up to me and my friend in the pool hall. And the reason why he walked up to me and my friend is because of his pool cue. He walked up to my friend, asked him about his pool cue, and said, like, where's this from? And he said, my friend told him, yeah, it's this old handmade pool cue that I paid $5,000 US for. The best player in the world said, man, that's crazy. Picked it up, played a few rounds of pool with it, and he came back and said, man, this is the worst pool cue I've ever played with. My friend looked at him and said, yeah, but it's handmade. So he's my friend is a near professional, and he doesn't care about the performance of the cue. He cares about the story behind the cue, and the story and the human angle behind that cue. So I think what that means is, I think that's what that means for all products and services is the same thing. Even though machines are making things better and more efficient, we're still selling to human beings, and human beings, the only thing they care about is what they really care about is a human angle. So I think, especially in the, now and in the coming future, it's going to be only more important that products and services will have that human story to it.
One big thing that I think is really interesting are brands that sort of work in a creation angle into the consumption of the product for the consumer. So it could be giving people ways to customize things when they purchase it. Technology definitely helps us be better consumers, better creators, but I think perhaps leading towards the future, leading towards 2050, we also should be more conscious about what we are consuming and how we're using technology. And I think that's the direction that we should be going in.
Basically, when Steve Jobs took my desktop computer and put it into my hand, my social relationships kind of broke down, right? Like, I barely talk with my family anymore. Unfortunately, it's a confession. I barely talk to my family anymore. My friends, I barely talk to. I spend all my time playing chess games and watching YouTube videos on my phone. So in 30 years from now, what's kind of a little bit frightening, I think, is what happens when someone takes the screen on my phone and puts it on my face, or puts it at that screen becomes the size of my world, right? Like VR, AR. Right now, it's not that developed, but 30 years from now, it's frightening to think the obsession with entertainment that happens when that becomes a feasible capability. And so I think what's going to happen, I mean, as a result, is that disconnect that we feel now is going to be huge in 30 years. So I think the implication for businesses is, man, anyone that's able to fill that social void in 30 years' time from now, if anyone's able to solve that, they're going to be making a lot of money. And if you don't believe it, I mean, just look what Facebook did in like a very simple way. They basically just let everyone have their own web page, and then you can follow someone's web page. They called it social media, and they're a $36 billion US company. A very simple idea, right? So what happens when someone really solves the social problem, like with bots, with AI technology, with artificial personalities? So I think there's a huge amount of money to be made in the social space, like a massive grower in the future, because that social, the obsession with entertainment, the social disconnect is only going to get bigger.
So in the coming 30 years, we may become more lonely. So then we are more urged for the brands who can understand our feelings and provide some of the human touch experience for us that we are willing to pay for, some kind of like services.
In the future, the definition of the luxury has been gonna be changed. So not only pay for the functional benefit, but more like emotional benefit.
If we look at just our current consumption pattern and usage, we're just spoiled for choice. We are overwhelmed by choice, and I think, looking at like the craft beer industry or, Netflix or anything else, we are overwhelmed by choice, and that's why we're overwhelmed by consumption.
So education is going to be totally changed in the future. People not going to the economy school or become a lawyer or something, because those are going to be replaced by the robots.
Again, I think yes, bots are going to do everything better, on time, more efficiently, more cheaply, but you're still selling to human beings, and human beings just prefer human-based products with a human story and a human touch. Yeah, I think 30 years from now, man, that's prophetic. 30 years from now is hard to predict, but I think very obviously, again, going back to the fact that 30 years from now, the social disconnect that the average human being will have, that gap and the demand to fill that gap will be massive. So if we go back to that, if you think about the brands that could potentially solve that, it's only brands that have one thing, which is the data to solve that. Like, which brands have the data to figure out what kind of personality fits you, what kind of person or even robot at that point can fit your personality? There's really only one kind of brand. It sounds kind of funny, but basically dating websites have that data. They've been collecting it for a decade now. So I think in a weird way, they'll have a massive grip on this problem more than any other type of brand. In a weird way, that would be kind of the brands to look at in the future to solve that problem.
What is irreplaceable from human being is the appreciation of art, appreciation of music.
I think in the future, people, they don't want to pay for any like products or service actually delivered by the AI technology. They are going to pay for the time, because time is the only resources in the world. It's not replaceable.
What is the most valuable things for us to consume? So when we are becoming more wealthy, more developed society, maybe what we pay for is time. It's something we cannot buy, money cannot buy.
But in the future, the consumer will pay whatever they want to pay for the products. But you can see the trend, the upcoming trend is a lot of secondary market platform digitally in the market is rising up now. The consumer define the price, and the consumer choose the product will be the trend in the future.
I think the brands that will do best are the brands that actually enable us to be more human and to be more creative versus then becoming better consumers. So, and by virtue of that, you actually buy their products, right? So you have, Apple allows you to, produce and create content. Nike enables you to be a better athlete, and they give you training materials to do that. You have Red Bull, which gives you wings, and they organize events around music and culture and dance, but essentially they're still selling an energy drink. So I think brands that will do well in the future, and the brands that I've worked with and the brands that always impress me are the brands that have a higher purpose, which is enabling you, enablement brands, to be better at something. I think if we look ahead in the future, the brands that will do the best are the brands that enable us to be more human versus more technological, I guess.
I don't think humans currently are hardwired to be able to control the amount of consumption of experience that they do now and will in the future consume to unhealthy levels, right? So I think there will be an interesting space which is figuring out how to help humans control their consumption in some way. So kind of like an anti-experience.
I think in 2050, when robots take over the world, we are really going to want to hug each other and hold each other. And maybe that's the role of brands to facilitate that.
Think before you consume. This is very important to create this sustainability which will benefit our next generation.